I'm Elizabeth Bowerman, and I'm from Stephen Austin. So Stephen Austin, we're based in Hartford. We are a traditional printer to all intents and purposes. We specialise in the education sector, producing assessment materials. So your kids sitting GCSEs, A-levels, etc., chances are we printed the question paper that's sitting in front of them at that point in time. Well, last year, to give you an idea on volumes, we produced 2.4 billion A4 pages. We export 60% of what we produce actually goes to an overseas market. We produce in 92 languages, and we ship to 150 countries in the traditional sense. So yes, we're still putting paper into cargo and cargo onto ships or planes or whatever. And that is what we do. Now, to do that in 76,000 square feet requires a huge amount of technology. So I often say when I'm introducing Stephen Austin to people that the ink on paper aspect of what we do is that much of a process that is that size. And obviously, to enable us to do that, technology, AI, algorithms, automated workflows, and all of those things have to come together in a very closely monitored sequence, because what we do is hugely time constrictive. You don't get to say, running a little bit late on this job, would it be all right if we deliver next week? When you've got 200 students sitting in a room that are waiting to sit an exam, that just can't happen. So we have to be 100% accurate, 100% on time, every time. And I'm pleased to say that we achieved that outcome. So that's a little bit of who we are. I've been in the industry for a couple of decades, and so have a huge amount of experience. To give you an idea, when I first started in print, the company was running hot metal letterpress. Yes, that's a phenomenon that you don't see very much these days. They're now sitting in reception areas, polished and looking wonderful as old print technology. I saw those in actions too, guys walking out, putting plates on platens. Bit of a Ford moment, you can have any colour, so long as it's black. So that's me. That's me in a nutshell. That's Stephen Austin. That's the background that I'm bringing to you today. So what I want to talk about today is actually how all of these things come together, where AI plays its part, where the algorithms play their part, and the impact that it's not just having on the print industry, but the impact that it's also having on education. So the first part is obviously it's able to personalize a lot of the materials that are done. We personalize question papers. We couldn't have done that 5, 10 years ago because the technology, the algorithms, the AI that helps all of this come together wasn't there. It wasn't developed enough to make that possible. That is now possible. We've talked a lot today about data. Data comes in lots of different forms. It can be presented in lots of different ways. And, there's an old adage, rubbish in, rubbish out. We've all lived that dream where the client sends you something and you look and you just immediately put your head in your hands and think, not again. We've had this conversation. We've gone through it meticulously. We got it right for you last time. We've reached the next exam cycle, and you're sending us the old stuff again. So data, as I say, is something that is so significantly important right at the very start of that process. And that's the same with a student's journey through the education sector and the education environment. And that's something that the HE, in particular, more so because they are innovative, they are advancing, they are looking to, and students are looking for a better experience from their time. They're paying a lot of money they are looking for value for that money that they're spending. So AI is actually enabling the data that's got from the student journey to be used by lecturers, by people building exams, by people even putting course materials together to actually make something that is more personal to that student. And it's feeding into that as a result. Assessments. Well, this is our bag. This is where we sit in the world. Assessments are something, to explain, I have a son who has special educational needs. He's got an IQ up there, 160 plus. I'm told that's in the area of Einstein. So I'm told. I don't know if I believe him. It was my son that told me. However, because of his dyslexia, there's an immediate disconnect between what he is able to achieve and what his written words can achieve. Two entirely different things. And AI can actually make that disconnect. It won't eliminate it, but it can actually make that disconnect smaller. Because, and AI, and I put this in here, AI in this environment is not new. It's been rebranded. It's a good marketing thing. It's been rebranded. But AI has been around for a very long time. We've established that over various talks that we've already had this morning. My son benefited from AI in 2015 when he was at college. He had a tool which was new at the time. It had been developed and it was evolving, called Dragon. Now, Dragon was a speech-to-text tool. But the impressive thing was that it actually learned. It was artificially learning my son. It was getting to know my son. It was getting to know how he used text. It was getting to know how he was using words, how he was even constructing written pieces for submission. And it evolved with him. So I'm going back to 2015, 2016, almost 10 years ago, and this that I'm talking about here was already in existence. It has evolved, as all things have. It's been rebranded, as most things do. And that's part of the reason why we're here today, because that AI that was part of that journey for him has actually been rebranded, and we're all so much more consciously aware of it. Because it's there, everybody's talking about it. And that was part of why I put this slide in there, because it shows the evolution that's happening. It shows how it is enhancing that student aspect. And it also is enhancing the way that is communicated into print. We have so many alternative formats now that are produced in print, even for dyslexics, but it may be that it's a slightly different wording that's used, or it may be a slightly different format to the questioning, just to simplify it so that that student then is able to achieve the best outcome that they can, which, you know, I think is a hallelujah moment, but maybe I'm just selfish. It also sort of enables, as I've put there, that teachers can get a much better understanding of their students. So we, you know, Stephen Austin, yes, we are a traditional printer. We do also have other parts of our business. And one of them is looking at AI and how that is actually able to enhance the student's experience further. And enable lecturers, enable teachers, irrespective of level of attainment of the student, to actually get the best out of their student, to enable their student to enjoy the best educational journey they can have. We've all had that trauma in the classroom where the teacher sort of goes, I want you to tell me this. And you kind of, you know, the sweat breaks out on the brow. There's a bit of a palpitation in the heart, a bit like me now. But it's kind of, how do you use that to do that? And it's enabling the feedback from that collected information, because before it was just pieces of paper. It was pieces of paper that a teacher was looking at independently, that it was looking at in isolation. With the use of AI, they're actually able to build a much bigger holistic picture of that student, because that student may have had a learning disability that wasn't picked up when they were younger because we didn't recognize it, because it wasn't recognized in the education system for whatever reason. But that teacher, that tutor, or whoever is now able to actually say to that student individually, we can help you with that. We have seen through the multiple pieces of work over 2 years that you have produced that there is a recurring example of something that wouldn't have been picked up on before. So AI is actually feeding in to all of those aspects. Content. I've kind of talked around this in the last 5 minutes because I wander. I do apologize. My brain goes off on a little journey and my mouth just follows. So it's able to create the content that enhances, again, that student journey. But it's because of the use of AI within that area that teachers actually get more free time. Because there are pieces of software. I was watching a TED Talk recently, and it was a gentleman called Sal Khan. And he has a thing in America called Khan Academy. Now, Khan Academy actually has this whole premise, and it goes right through the age range. It's not just aimed at older students. It takes the tutoring aspect of teaching. So it's a companion to learn with. It's a companion that will actually speak to children, and as young as you know, sort of primary school, just starting off, to be able to engage with learning materials, to be able to enjoy the experience of learning. And it's that enjoyment that actually will encourage them in later life to actually proceed further than maybe they would originally have thought. But with Khan Academy, what he's actually done is he has broken it down to take into account various things. So it actually artificially finds academically approved learning material, and it will bring that in. So if a student was to write a question, for example, it wouldn't just immediately provide them with an answer, like ChatGPT and all those kind of things, because it's got preset parameters that say, do not give them the answer. Make them think about it. So it will ask questions, it will prompt you, it will guide you, but it will not ultimately give you that straight answer. Because obviously, in the education environment, huge news, anybody that reads any of these kind of supplements, is a huge problem. Huge problem. And there are a lot of universities currently who are actually looking at how they provide their assessment materials and how they conduct their assessments. The pandemic, oh my God, the whole world fell apart in the education system because they kind of went, oh my God, what are we going to do? They went to open book because they had no way of controlling what students would or wouldn't use within those assessments once they went remote and everything went online for that period of time. As it is, they're actually reverting more to paper. The driver for that, student experience. The students have actually asked to go back to paper, which was a sort of, oh, really? Okay, that's great news for us then. We'll be around. We've been around since 1768, but we're going to be around a bit longer because they want to go back to paper, so that's very good news. So with regards to content, it enables that functionality, it enables that. And with the Khan Academy, one of the things that got me, which I thought was really very, very clever, was that the guy used his own son as an example. His own son hated reading, hated writing, had no interest in it, wouldn't engage with it. So he's a very clever man. What did he do? He went and wrote a program. He got his development team, they wrote a program. that program actually encouraged his son not only to read, but to actually write. Because within the parameters of the algorithm, because AI is after all an algorithm of some sort, it actually built a story. So his son was able to say, I want to write, in the example that he used was a horror story. He was about 8 years old or 9 years old, his son at the time. So, but what it did was his son would write a couple of lines or a paragraph, and then the AI would follow suit, using what his son had written to actually construct the next part of that story. And then his son would add another bit, because it was prompted by the AI, okay, it's your turn. So at 9 years old, his son was already using that technology, but more importantly, that technology was engaging his son to learn. And that then fed into various other aspects, including mathematics, et cetera, Again, not giving him the answer, just enabling him and encouraging him in a way that made sense, because every child learns differently, as we know. Augmented reality. I love augmented reality. It takes you away from things for a little bit, doesn't it? Now, again, augmented reality is not new. I remember, probably about 15 years ago, sitting with this very clever guy that brought a postcard in, said, now put your phone over the top of it. Put my phone over the top of it. Suddenly I had a dinosaur dancing on the desk. Very clever. In this case, obviously that's progressed, it's advanced, and it's able to collect information that is actually then shared. Now, whether it is showing some video, it could be a YouTube video, it could be anything of that sort of thing, but it will be specifically subject matter related, and it will be approved content to be used for whatever that subject is. But obviously you've got the marketing area, you know, you've got different aspects that it gets brought into that actually will sort of be recognized. I'm not going to do this because we've already done this one where it's sort of data obviously feeds into sort of what's being done. And in summary, I suppose, the potential for this almost kind of triangular aspect to come into play is very much around education, what it does, how AI feeds into that, the fact that students want to engage with print, so how do we take that content and make it accessible to the students that want it in printed format? And AI and the fact that that is being used to drive that content, to drive what the students want, and to make sure that the teachers and the educators are actually being able to fulfill their jobs as well, and get a bit of free time to actually enable them to do the things that they want to do that little bit better. So outside of my job at Stephen Austin, this is something that really gets my passion. We as an industry are really struggling to get young people, and we've already established, your man asked, you know, anybody from the 90s, and there was a whole raft of hands went up in the air in this room specifically. Young People in Print is an initiative that I started. It goes sort of back to the end of last year when I came up with a bit of a harebrained notion that maybe we could do something. And what we're trying to do, so it's myself and there's a collection, there's 6 of us involved in this initiative, to actually try and engage with career hubs, with schools, with education system, to actually get young people to consider print, because we're all talking about it today. It's hugely innovative, it's hugely technology driven. People outside of our industry don't know that, they don't recognize that, they don't see that. And what we're trying to do is actually convey that to the schools, to the careers hubs, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the shocking facts that actually has come to light very recently through the conversations that we've been having with the careers hubs, et cetera, is there's a chap in Bristol or Bath, somewhere in that neck of the woods. He's been doing the job for 10 years. He has been placing students, he has been encouraging students, speaking to businesses, et cetera, in the area. Not once has he considered print as a career option for any of the students, and he represents nearly 200 schools in that area. And that's quite a frightening statistic. And unfortunately, it's something that we are hearing quite regularly from other careers hubs as well, because we're talking up and down the country. We're not just speaking in a very small area. And that's something that is being repeated. We've had an event recently where we actually had some of those career hub people come into a print site and actually have a bit of a tour, have a bit of a talk, see what's going on, and they walked out and they were picking their jaw up off the floor because they had no idea what actually went on behind the doors of the print companies in their areas. So if anybody does want to get involved or has any ideas or is doing something already that they've found has been particularly good, then by all means we are completely open to any suggestions that people have got brought forward. We know people are doing things. We need to make a bigger noise about it, and that's what we are trying to do. So if anybody would like to get involved, please, we've got a LinkedIn page, follow the LinkedIn page, speak to me today, reach out to me afterwards. It would be great to hear from you. So thank you very much, and thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.